my love of the xenomorphs. Jesus Christ, why does it sound like TV static? That's seriously all I hear when I hear this. So we start off with an intro saying that there's a commercial towing vehicle called the Nostromo that is space sailing with a crew of 7, and they also have cargo of 20 million tons of mineral ore. Wow. And apparently they're returning to Earth. The next 3 minutes are just shots of the ship, I guess, so you can feel immersed. I really find it so interesting that when you look back at these old movies that were supposedly taking place many years in the future, their technology always ends up looking like something from the 70s. Makes sense because that's when the movies were made, but it just looks ridiculous now looking back at it. The crew is awoken, and I don't understand why it's so bright in that room. Their eyes have been closed for a while, so wouldn't they need time for their eyes to adjust? Maybe it's just that we can see them. What is this, 50 Shades of Grey? What's going on? Okay, he's taking his time and waking up, but still. Where do they poo? Does it slow down like all the body functions so that you reabsorb it, or are those diapers that they're wearing? And then if that's the case, you know, gross. Anyway, we meet the captain, Warrant Officer Ripley, who becomes the main character, and a bunch of others. As they're on their course back to Earth, they got a signal from the ship, which they call Mother. Apparently it's a distress signal, and Mother wakes them up because their law is that if there is a distress signal out there, the crew has to answer it. What if they're like pirates or something? You know, space pirates? I imagine they'd have stuff like that out there. What if they fake a distress signal, so every time you're getting the crew awoken, going through pirate territory, you're not aware of it, and then you get robbed? Because since you're carrying like 20 million tons of minerals, and I'm guessing are important since you're chartering back to Earth. So they land on this moon, although one of the crew members was very against it. So pretty. I only realized looking back at the scene how freaking shaky it is. Why is it shaking so goddamn much? Is there an earthquake happening across space and time? I know it's for the time period, and most movies made in this vein were made like that, but Jesus Christ. I guess it's something that people back in the day turned off because just seeing this happen was amazing. But now that we have like proper graphics and whatnot, it hurts my eyes so badly. Hey, who knows? Maybe 50 years from now, we'll be looking at movies with what we think is the latest forms of technology, and we'll have something then that will render us saying that these movies we're watching now are total ass. So they land. 3 of the crew members decide to investigate the terrain. As they get to the source of the signal, they discover that it's some kind of abandoned alien-like ship, so knowing nothing about it, they board it. It obviously doesn't look like anything that humans made. It's very strange. At this moment, I would be like, what is happening? Unless, of course, in their universe, other aliens or creatures that don't look like humans are a natural occurrence, and I'm not getting that it is. Or maybe it is. I don't know. You never know. They find the engineer or the person there, and it's like this huge Skeletor, octopus, squid, elephant person, and nobody seems like as shocked as they should be in this situation.
Alien life form. Looks like it's been dead a long time.
So after seeing that, they observe that this poor thing has exploded from the inside. The way that they're talking about the alien life form that they're talking about, it doesn't seem the least bit that they are surprised that they're seeing it. Something that I didn't catch the first time around when I watched this movie.
That transmission, Mother's deciphered part of it. It doesn't look like an SOS.
This part I don't understand. I know she just decided to do this afterwards, but you don't know what you're getting into. I'm pretty sure that it doesn't escape them that there are people out there that would take advantage of them. So why couldn't you wait until Mother finished deciphering what the signal actually meant? You know, those people are already down there. You put yourself at a lot of risk just sending them down there without properly deciphering what it is.
What is it then?
Well, it looks like a warning.
Probably should have figured that out before you sent people down to touch down at this thing. Now you're going to experience the rest of your life in this movie as a colossal nightmare just because you chose to not wait a few more minutes while the ship finished deciphering what that signal was. Unfortunately, Sigourney Weaver can't get the message to the rest of the people. One of the ship members ends up finding a nest with eggs in it. Props for the music sounding so suspenseful and creepy. I find that a lot of those older style horror movies and sci-fis did that very well, so props for that. What happens next makes me want to hit this character upside the head.
There's a layer of mist just covering the eggs that reacts when...
So you're aware that they are eggs. They're alien life form eggs that you know nothing about, that you've never seen before, but you decide to go as close as possible to them so you can touch them. And when one opens forcefully and weirdly, in a very suspicious type of way when you get near it, that, I don't know about you, but human beings, I mean, I gather they still have predators somewhere on their planets. You don't realize that maybe if something is opening, when you get near it, that it's a defensive mechanism that can either spray venom in your face or something. But the more warning signs this guy gets, he just continues to reach out to it. He sees something moving inside of it. It opens and he's like, let me just see and wait to see what happens. Because, you know, my helmet can protect me from everything. The thing comes out at him and something starts sizzling through his helmet, sort of. The rest of the crew finds Kane, and the acid that this creature has as blood allows it to penetrate straight through his helmet to get to his face. Almost like there is no force on earth or heaven that can prevent these aliens from inserting themselves down your throat hole. Now that their crewmate's in danger, they try to surgically remove it. The more they try to, the tighter it wraps its tail around his neck. So they're like, okay, we can't remove it this way. It's choking the hell out of him. Let's then try to like drill or laser it off or something. And its blood is acid. Corrosive acid that cuts through several decks of the ship. This is a problem. And I will say that I don't know if Alien is the first one that introduced this obstacle with bad guys, but it's scary when you have something that hunts you, is a parasite, and you end up risking killing or hurting yourself just trying to defend yourself from this thing. Now the crew is wondering what kind of organism they're dealing with. This is exactly why the main character, Ripley, had refused for them to come on the ship, talking about quarantine and stuff, but everyone's like, no, he has an alien attached to his face, so we need to save him and let him on the ship with all the other people. It was actually this guy, Ash, an android, that overrid her decision. Overrode. He seems very fascinated with the creature.
Look, what would you have done with Kane? You know his only chance of survival was to get him in here.
So you risk the entire ship to do that? Like, the general idea is to make sure that you maximize the survival of the humans in general. So, if one person is infected with an alien life form that is clearly parasitic, maybe not let it on board, just saying. Later, when they go to check on Kane, they discover that the thing is not on his face. And, I don't know about you, but if I see some spider thing grabbing onto someone's face, and I go in the room and discover it's not there, first thing I would do is close the freaking door. But they don't. They come in and they leave the door open. I get that they need light, but isn't quarantining it more important? Isn't Ripley the one that was fighting for that? For God's sake. The thing falls on Ripley for no freaking reason. And they're like, oh, it's dead. And it reacts, nerve endings just fire up and stuff. And they decide to take a closer look at it. Did anyone investigate Kane to see how he's doing? Anyway, they head back to Earth after fixing the ship, and everyone's like la-di-da-di-da. Then Kane wakes up later and guess what? Voila, he's absolutely fine. Nobody decided to take an X-ray, EKG, like look inside of him. They have the technology to do that with a parasitic alien that nobody knows anything about. No one decided to see if he was okay, or the alien put anything inside of him, which is clear what it was doing. It's what it was doing. I just don't understand this. I watched this movie for the first time when I was really little, so I never thought about these things. I was just like, oh, where's the alien? I don't care about the people. Where's the alien? Now I'm actually looking at the story and I want to beat these characters over the head with their own feet. They ask him if he remembers anything about what happened, like, before, you know, what happened with the thing, the alien finger stuff.
I remember some horrible dream about smothering. Anyway, where are we?
Right here.
We're on our way home.
Yeah, let's all just forget that there was a freaking alien sticking its teen down your throat. I mean, if that had happened to the cat, they have a cat on board, by the way. If that had happened to the cat, the main character would have been so nervous, and she would have been inspecting her cat to see if anything happened to it. Hell, if we had animals and a wasp stings it or it eats something that it's not supposed to, you see some bright shiny bug and your dog ends up eating it, you're going to be worried. You're going to be like, what the frick did my dog just eat? You're going to try and put like peroxide down its throat so it can throw it up, because from what you know, anything that wants to get eaten or is very bright is usually poisonous. And your dog just ate it and you don't know what it is. So the safer than sorry thing is if you care about that thing, get it to throw it up right away or get it to the vet so that the vet can try to figure out what it is to get it out in the first place. Or if it's been sitting inside your dog for a while, they're going to take an x-ray and figure out what's in there. Nobody just is like, oh, well, everything's all good now. Let's all go party, yay! Everyone's like, let's go eat. Let's pretend that this person didn't just have a freaking vagine spider attached to his face with a peen sticking down his throat. Let's all pretend like an alien life force wasn't just, you know, parasitically hanging on to this person. Let's have him sit down at the dinner table with us, touching the same food we're touching. Let's not quarantine him for a while to make sure he's okay and he doesn't spread any type of sickness and we don't carry it back to Earth. I mean, they have protocols to answer distress calls, but they don't have protocols when it comes to quarantining for stuff like this. Even if they weren't trained for this, you'd think this is like, you know, survival 101.
I don't want to talk about what it's made of. I'm eating this. What's the matter? The food ain't that bad, baby.
Oh, okay, so he's not laughing. He's choking. I feel so bad for the guy who's just happy that he's alive. The one with the Ninja Turtle band, he's like, it's okay, everything's great. This guy's like, I can't breathe. I guess they determined that he's not choking, so they hold him down thinking he's having a seizure or something. I like how this guy in the back is still holding on to a cigarette. Like, okay, it's just another Tuesday. Honestly, what made these creatures so freaking scary was the death. A small creature bursts out of this guy's chest. It was eating him from the inside out and then just like explodes his chest, bursts through it, which ends up killing him. Before they can kill it, Ash is like, no, don't kill it. I would have been like, why? But everyone's too wrapped up in what this thing is and what it's doing.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. What the fuck is going on?
Sadly, the crew says goodbye to their dead friend, and now the stakes are high. Everyone agrees that they need to search for this thing, because the fact that it killed a grown man, and it was hiding inside of him, is a freaking problem. Of course. The cat is the only smart person in this entire movie. I think I'm having a Mandela effect situation because I remember when I was a baby, my parents were watching this movie and something similar to this in the same type of setting happened where a long, dark, lanky, slimy alien came out and either a cat or a dog was hiding and it saw the dog or cat and pet it instead of hurting it, but it was hunting all the other humans. And for the life of me, I have no recollection as to what horror movie that was.
Wait, don't let him go. What the hell are you doing, man?
I completely understand where she's coming from because I would have felt the same way if it were my cat or dog. So the one guy is going after the cat using kitty noises because, you know, in a situation like this, the best thing to do is to split up and go all by yourself. He finds molted skin of the alien, which means that it's growing. The scene that happens next is actually terrifying because the cat sees him and is about to come towards him. And as he's coming towards him, he's like, oh, no. He sees something, he changes his mind and hisses at him. And then we see this large-ass alien behind him. The way it came down like that, I mean, for the time period, I imagine these people probably see this and they're not used to seeing this kind of stuff looking this believable on screen. That's really, really creepy. That guy gets killed and taken off somewhere. The crew makes a decision to follow after the alien in the one place they think it is, into the air ducts. Dallas goes in. He figures if he can force the monster through there, pushing it back with the fire, they can coerce it to head into the airlock and then spit it out into space. Wishful thinking, right?
Gotta be around there.
Why does everyone have to touch things that's clearly alien? You know that liquid comes out. Ew, gross. Why would you touch it? Why do Americans do that? Like, I don't see any other movie from any country where they're doing that crap. You know this alien is going around. You don't know what the liquid is. You've seen that this alien has acid for blood, and the first thing you're gonna do is put your freaking bare fingers into liquid of which you have no knowledge of the substance it's comprised of. The crow's like, oh my god, it's headed straight for you really fast. So it moved that fast towards him at lightning speed. It usually grabs people and eats them right away. But, it reaches him, stops, and pleads for a hug. Interesting. I remember watching back that scene. It's still as ridiculous as the first time I saw it. They found Dallas's weapon and his poor girlfriend, Lambert, is beside herself. After Ripley decides to go ahead with the plan, she finds it odd that Ash has nothing to add. Now that she has access to Mother, she seeks her own answers and finds out that it was their plan all along, the people Ripley and her crew answer to study this alien and to foolishly carry it back to Earth for analysis. Ash is on their side. I remember this completely different because I thought from the beginning Ripley knew he was a robot, but apparently it's a surprise to the crew later. Door's pretty loud. So when she finds out all of this, how is it that she didn't know that Ash was in there with her? She attacks Ash and is very upset. Ash locks all the doors for her to escape and tell the rest of the crew, and he starts beating her up and sweating milk because I guess androids sweat when they're nervous, which kind of, I don't know, defeats the whole purpose of them being in an espionage role, but whatever. He throws Ripley around a bunch. Oh look, his forehead's completely clean now. The milk has dried up in like an instant. And as he's wondering what to do with Ripley to, I guess, disarm her or to keep her out of commission from telling the rest of the crew... For those of you who've probably watched this before, it's no surprise, but those of you who haven't, it'd be better if you watched it yourself on your own. But he decides that the best course of action is to roll up a magazine and stuff it on her mouth, because I'm not sure what this was supposed to achieve, because... what is happening right now? Why? Never mind. Finally, the rest of the crew comes to help her, and after they hit his head off, they discover that Ash is a robot, and then, like, it makes the stupidest sounds as it's trying to hurt. Like, it's so stupid. This whole scene, looking back at it, is so ridiculous. What was with this jump cut? I didn't edit that, by the way. That's in the movie. They couldn't even... Oh my god. I know this was a long time ago movie, and the movie is actually pretty thrilling, so it makes up for it. But goodness grief, this was horrible. It literally cuts like that. Because there was a fake head before, and they had to put his real head in there so that he could talk it later, but it just looks horrible. You don't go from fake head, and then the transition is so stark. First of all, he's not even in the same position. You have to look back at the footage to make sure it's the same. This is literally the transition. Boop, boop, all of a sudden his head is here, and he's a different color, and his looks completely different, ears look different. It's clearly, oh, this is a real person. This is fake, real, fake. The hair is even different. The hair is longer on the mannequin than it is on the actual person. It's easier to fool people back then because they weren't used to seeing stuff like this, so stuff was more believable to them. But looking back at it now, it's really disgusting.
Ash!
Got milk?
Okay, and there goes the transition back to the ugly-ass mannequin. Why is his mouth stuck like that? Anyway, Android Ash and his filthy anal beads learn to never mess with the crew again. You know what? That's what they should have done from the beginning. Lambert had wanted to just abandon ship and escape in the small shuttle. Unfortunately, that shuttle cannot support 4 people, and so they push on with the plan. Then later to decide, you know what? We're gonna self-destruct the Nostromo and go inside the shuttle anyway. Lambert and Parker gather some supplies. Even back then, they used their jump scares, but it was usually designated for cats for some reason. I don't know why. The alien finds Lambert, and Parker tries to save her, but is knocked away by the alien. His death is the only one I really felt bad for because he felt like the most likable character. Ripley tries to get to them, while the alien rollerblades towards Lambert. I don't know why it's doing that. I always wonder, like, why is it moving like that, bro? It looks so unnatural and weird, and yeah, it's an alien, so it's supposed to look unnatural, but it looks so freaking stupid. I guess it decides to get some sookie before it kills Lambert. Now alone with her and Jones the cat, Ripley unfortunately finds Dallas, who is still alive. The creature has laid eggs and is keeping her crew, or members of them, alive so that other creatures can burst out from their chests as well. It's a sentence worse than death, and I feel so bad for them here. So Dallas is like, please kill me. He would not have had to ask. And she sets him, all the other victims, and the eggs on fire. Now she has to fight for her life while she's being stalked by the alien. She goes in the shuttle, and the Nostromo blows up. What a weird-ass explosion for being in space. Yes, no sound is in space, but they have to, I guess, dramatize it for movies, but good grief, this is the worst explosion I've ever seen on screen. She deems that everything's peaceful, her and Jones are happy, but she's sad that she lost her crewmates. She prepares for cryo-sleep, and she puts Jones in first. Then we gotta do a little strippity strip, yeah, baby! Oh, snap! I'm sorry, because apparently the scene is made complete with this, and honestly, when I saw the scene, it took me a while to realize I was looking at the back and not the front, because they look almost exactly the same. But the one thing that stood out to me is like, why are they doing this poor woman like this? Her panties look like they belong to a 7-year-old. Unless she had a growth spurt when she was in cryo-sleep, they're literally falling off of the little bit of ass she has. Not trying to body shame or anything, but considering how small she is, it shouldn't be that hard to have enough fabric, considering that they cut covered up the guys really nice. Why couldn't we see their tummy gutters? What's with the sound effects? Whoopsh. Ripley, terrified, gets into a spacesuit, because how dare that thing ruin her paradise ending. She's like, my tits are up. I'm gonna fix your business, bro. She triggers a gas to come on, which forces the alien out. And then right before it bites her, she hits the button for the airlock for it to be carried out space. It goes into the exhaust engines for the spacecraft and she incinerates it. And there you go. Crisis averted. Finally, she can keep a log in her diary of everything that happened. This is probably what people end up doing in creepypasta stories after they have a situation like this happen and they're writing all of it on Reddit and they just so happened are able to write an hour-long, what would have been an hour-long audio in the space of like 5 minutes before their death. But this is the real happy ending. And I'm so glad that Jones the kitty is okay. The end. Alien was a great concept. It wasn't the greatest movie, but I imagine for its time it was very scary. But goddamn were the characters stupid. Nobody used any common sense. Even if they weren't trained for the situations they ended up experiencing, you would think that the bare minimum intelligence would have required them to make sound decisions. But apparently it's a trope with horror movies that the characters have to be perpetually stupid for some reason. All you other writers out there, I know this annoys you to all hell, and when we write our stories, we try to at least have the characters have some semblance of intelligence, right? Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.